The Wrong Father. Chapter 1. The Picture Frame. Ella Bennett was 8 years old when she found the photograph. It was a rainy Saturday afternoon in her hometown of Asheville, North Carolina. She had been digging through a dusty trunk in the attic, while her mother, Claire, cleaned the kitchen. Inside the trunk were old baby clothes, a few books, and then, at the bottom, an envelope labeled, "Do not open." Of course, Ella opened it. Inside was a photograph of her mother, young and smiling, standing beside a man Ella didn't recognize. He wasn't her father. Her real father was Mark Bennett, tall, quiet, with kind eyes and an accountant's patience. But this man looked nothing like him. Ella took the picture to her mother. "Mom, who is this?" Claire froze. Her breath caught, and her hands trembled as she took the photo from Ella's small hands. She didn't answer. She just said softly, "Please, go play, honey." Chapter 2. Secrets in the Kitchen. Claire sat at the table for a long time after Ella left. She stared at the photo, her heart heavy with a truth she had hidden for years. The man in the photo was James Dawson, her first love. She had met James during her final year in college. He was wild, passionate, full of big dreams and no plans. They had fallen in love quickly, recklessly. When Claire discovered she was pregnant, James panicked. He left her the next week. She hadn't heard from him since. Mark came into her life a year later. He knew about the pregnancy. He knew the child wasn't his, but he loved her anyway, and he loved Ella like his own. They got married when Ella was 2, and ever since, Mark had been dad. But now the past had crept back in, just like she feared it would. Chapter 3. Mark's Quiet Pain. That evening, Claire sat with Mark in the living room, while Ella played with her dolls. "She found the picture," Claire whispered. Mark didn't ask which picture. He knew. Claire placed the photo on the coffee table. Mark picked it up, looked at it, and sighed deeply. "I always knew this day would come," he said. "You think she understood anything?" Claire shook her head. "No, not yet." Mark nodded. "Then we still have time." There was no resentment in his voice, but pain lingered in his eyes. "I love that girl," he said. "She's mine, no matter what." Claire leaned into him. "You're the only father she's ever known. You're the only one she'll need." But the storm was coming, and neither of them were ready. Chapter 4. The Substitute Teacher. It was 2 years later, in 6th grade, when James Dawson walked back into their lives. Ella didn't know him. To her, he was Mr. Dawson, the new, long-term substitute history teacher. He had wild hair, a fast smile, and a way of telling stories that made the whole class lean in. One day, after school, he stopped her in the hallway. "Ella Bennett?" he asked. She nodded. He smiled gently. "I knew your mother a long time ago. Tell her James says hello." Ella was confused, but nodded politely. She didn't know why, but she felt strange all day. When she told Claire that night, her mother turned pale. "What did he say?" Claire asked sharply. "Just that he knew you, a long time ago." Claire gripped the counter. Her hands shook. "Don't talk to him again, okay?" "Why?" "Just do it for me." Chapter 5. The Truth Comes Out. 2 days later, Claire went to the school. She found James Dawson in the teacher's lounge and asked to speak privately. When they were alone, she looked him dead in the eyes. Why are you here? James shrugged. I needed a job. It's just a coincidence. Claire didn't believe that for a second. You don't get to walk back into our lives like nothing happened. He looked down. I didn't know Claire. I swear. I saw her name on the attendance list. Ella Bennett. I recognized the name. And then I saw her, and I knew. Claire's voice broke. She's not yours. Mark raised her. He gave her everything you never did. James whispered, I'm not trying to take her away. I just want to know her. You don't deserve to. James nodded slowly. Maybe not, but I want to try. Chapter 6. Mark's silence. When Claire told Mark what had happened, he sat in silence. She waited for him to yell, or break something, or cry. He did none of that. Instead, he stood up, took his coat, and walked out the door. He didn't come home for 3 hours. When he returned, he simply said, I won't stop him. Claire blinked. What? She's old enough to ask questions. She deserves the truth. If he's around, she'll find out anyway. Claire sat down, stunned. So we just let this happen? No, Mark said gently, but we prepare for it, and we trust her to know who her real father is. Chapter 7. The Conversation. It was a Saturday morning when Claire sat Ella down. They were in the kitchen, sunlight streaming through the windows, and Claire's hands trembled as she poured the juice. There's something I need to tell you, Claire said, voice tight. Ella looked up. You know how families are sometimes? Complicated? Ella nodded, wary. Your dad, Mark, he chose to be your father. He's always been your father. But you have another father. His name is James Dawson. He was someone I knew a long time ago. Ella's eyes widened. You mean Mr. Dawson? Claire nodded slowly. Yes, but nothing changes, okay? We're still your family. Ella sat very still, and then she asked the one question Claire had been dreading. Did Dad know? Claire hesitated. Yes, he always knew. Chapter 8. Torn. Ella didn't know how to feel. Her world suddenly felt like it was made of glass. Shiny, fragile, full of cracks. She loved Mark. He had read her bedtime stories, taught her how to ride a bike, sat through every recital and game. He was her dad, but now this other man, James, was in the picture, and he was her biological father. She didn't tell anyone, but after school, she stayed behind to talk to him. I know who you are, she said quietly. James looked stunned. Your mom told you? Ella nodded. He leaned against the desk. That must have been hard to hear. It was, she said. James was quiet for a moment. You don't have to talk to me. I won't force anything, but I'm here if you ever want to ask anything. Ella nodded again and walked away. Chapter 9. The Notebook. That night, Ella started a notebook. She wrote questions in it. Why did you leave? What were you like when you were young? Do I look like you? Why didn't you come back? She never showed it to anyone, but she kept writing. Chapter 10. The Visit. A month passed. Then one Sunday, Ella asked Claire, Can I meet him? Claire was quiet. Are you sure? I just want to talk. So they met at the park. Ella and James sat on a bench while Claire watched from a distance. They talked for nearly an hour. Ella asked some of her questions. James answered honestly. By the end, she was crying. So was he. I don't want to replace your dad, James said. I just want to be someone who cares. Ella nodded. You already are. Chapter 11. Mark's Letter. On her 13th birthday, Mark gave Ella a letter. Ella, I may not share your blood, but I share your memories. I was there for your first steps, your first word, your first heartbreak. Being your father has been the greatest gift of my life, and no matter what happens, that will never change. Love, Dad. Ella cried reading it. She hugged him tighter than ever before. Chapter 12. Family Redefined. Over the next year, something unexpected happened. They found balance. James became a quiet presence in Ella's life, never overstepping, always respectful. Mark remained her anchor, her safe place, her real dad. Claire watched as her daughter learned what it meant to love people, even if they weren't perfect. Even if the past was messy. Sometimes family is chosen. Sometimes family is found. Sometimes it's both. Chapter 13. Graduation. At Ella's high school graduation, she gave a speech. People ask me about my family, and I always say, it's complicated. But that's not a bad thing. My dad taught me what love looks like, and my other dad taught me how to forgive. I am who I am because of both. In the crowd, Mark and James stood side by side, both crying. Claire smiled from her seat, holding their hands. Chapter 14. Years later. Ella grew up, went to college, and became a counselor, helping kids from broken families. She never forgot the day she found the picture, the day everything changed. But now she kept that photo framed on her desk, next to one of Mark, holding her as a baby. Both fathers, both part of her story. Because love isn't about biology, it's about who shows up.